everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Geeking Out podcast. I am the Athletic Geek, and my guest this week is Stride Star, beautiful Brian Richards. Brian, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It's awesome. I've heard a lot of your stuff, man. So it's been good. So I'm excited.
I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to my stuff and reaching out like this. This is I'm honored that I have my first that wanted to be on the show, so
Yeah,
that's an honor for me. But that's taken nothing away from you. I've just here during the last few weeks because all the Stride guys have been just absolutely joys to have on the show. I've fortunately have not been keeping up with Stride as much as I'd like to have, and I've been able to go back on YouTube and watch a lot of the Stride shows. So I'm getting there with Stride, and if we're dating this recording a little bit, if the state doesn't shut down, I will definitely be at the next show.
yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
So
This COVID stuff is just ridiculous.
it is. We're not here to talk about your views,
Yeah,
anybody's views on COVID, not just you or mine or
yeah.
anybody. We're here to talk about something we both love, and that's professional wrestling. And my standard question for every wrestler I have on the show is: were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Oh yeah, man, for sure. My dad watched it. I remember my mom, man, she hated that we watched it because I have a younger brother, and wrestling comes on, and it's like we just loved it so much, man. And it's like, oh, did you see how he hit that? So like we would be wrestling during it. Got to the point to where my mom like main event would come on, my mom would shut it off and send us to bed. So that's kind of how it all started, man. Just watching it with my dad.
Uh, who were your favorites? Like, what wrestlers when you were watching with your dad, like, kind of jumped out at you? Which were the
Oh, I think the first one I ever liked, man, was Goldberg's what got me in, like that hooked me. But growing up, dude, a big Rob Van Dam guy.
okay?
Yeah, when they came to Carbondale, I drew with permanent marker. I was like 10, stuff all over my face, and I actually met CM Punk, and he was like, that's never gonna come off, kid. So
Now, okay, we're on a sidebar, and that's the one thing I love about doing these interviews is the sidebars. When you said meeting CM Punk, was this at the Carbondale Buffalo Wild Wings?
yes, it
I was
was.
there. I met CM Punk there as well.
Yeah, I was 9, and I had a big ass or big O, sorry,
You
big
can
O
say whatever
sign that
you can
said,
say whatever you want on here. It's all good.
alrighty. Yeah, I had a big old poster, man, that said RVD, and put RVD on my forehead with Sharpie. Me and my brother did, and yin yang signs on my cheeks. And he just looked at me and shook his head, and he goes, "That's never gonna come off, kid. That's never gonna come off." So
Good old CM Punk, always the nicest man in the room.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He
Always,
definitely tell you how it is for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Always cognizant of everyone's feelings. CM Punk.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I was at that show and I met CM Punk at that same signing. I did not have anything written on my face,
Oh yeah.
but so I didn't really stand out quite as much to old Punker as you did. But now, you we were both at that show. Was that your first ever live pro wrestling show, or did you get to go to
Yeah.
others?
Yeah, that was my first ever live one. And right after that, man, I was just like, I was hooked. Like, I was like, this is for real, something I could do. So I just kind of started playing. Like, um, I watched every documentary after that on like how wrestlers became wrestlers. Like, so that's when I started dipping into like my athletic background, like playing football and all that. So
Um, it's funny you mentioned. You mentioned your athletic background. You had football. Did you do any amateur wrestling growing up or anything?
yeah, I did my freshman year of high school. I did 1 year. Um, I wasn't great, but I wasn't horrible either.
Right.
If I would have gave it better than what I did, I probably would have been way better at it. But I just kind of did a year and then just stopped. So it wasn't really for me.
Right. I know. I only wrestled 1 year, and I wish I would have kept more at it, but I didn't.
Yeah, it just couldn't wait, man. That's what really was bad for me. So I was just like, man, I don't see why I
Well, it was.
should have to.
See, I never had to cut weight. I just naturally lost weight, and I wrestled my freshman year. I was a lineman, and then I just lost a bunch of weight. So while every other lineman on the football team was getting huge in the weight room, I was like, I'm down to 169 pounds now, you guys. I'm like, that's great, but you're not going to be a
Yeah,
running back, so that's terrible for you.
yeah. See, that's how I was too, because I was 11 too, and I'm pushing, like 215. They want me to go to the 185 class, and I was like,
Hmm.
nah, like that's just not for me.
Yeah, but it's any if anybody who I mean I'm not a wrestler, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. But anybody who wants to do anything athletic out there, I encourage them to try wrestling because it is a great
Yes,
sport.
it
Um,
is, and it takes a lot to do, man. Like you have to be a strong-willed person and mean business when you're doing it for sure.
yes, it's you learn how to find that little extra within yourself when you're doing wrestling. And football. I'm not taking anything from other sports. Football, basketball. You
Yeah,
know, because you got to be find a lot within yourselves there too. But wrestling is really where you gotta dig down to the deepest part to find anything to try and yeah, it's a wrestling's a great sport. I can't recommend it enough. But so who were some of your? You mentioned RVD, you mentioned Goldberg. Who were kind of the people locally that you were attracted to? Because we kind of I feel like a lot of things on this show go back to that SIU Arena SmackDown house show. Because that's where I first became acquainted with AAPW, and that's where I found out that, hey, there's wrestling in Southern Illinois. Who were some of the wrestlers from that helped you realize, oh, hey, I can wrestling's an attainable goal, you know?
yeah, yeah. Just from the show, like Rob Van Dam,
Right.
and then I think after the Carbonell show, man, I went to Heron School, and I remember that AAPW was going to be at Heron,
Hmm.
and Jim the Animal Nightheart was going to be there,
Okay.
and man, me like we grew up like super in poverty, like we were scraping for food mostly every night, but me and my brother, man, we wanted to go so bad, so we went up there and we just sit there and watch these people. Like we probably didn't even know they were wrestlers, but we were sitting them at the edge of the parking lot on the side, just watched them load in the ring, and we were just like there, like, and we'd watch from the outside of the window, through the school gymnasium and stuff like that. So like that's kind of how I got started with AAPW, like watching it. Um, So when I started doing the shows, is when they did their TV stuff.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so they were doing their TV stuff, and I remember they did a free show for cans or something like that.
Okay.
And so I went in, we watched the show, and
And how old were you at this point, if you don't mind me asking?
I was like 15, 16 at this point. Yeah, I
Gotcha.
was a sophomore in high school, and um, I think the first person I talked to was Bull, and I was like, look, man, like I'm 16, I want to wrestle. I was like, is there anyone around here you know that would train me? And he sent me to Josh Totten that was at the show, and he was like, well, yeah, I have this school, it's 2 hours away, yada yada yada. So I waited till I got my license, and then the whole time after you told me this and told me there was a school, I was like, wait, there's schools for these? Like, so now I was even hooked more. So like, most of my time in high school was spent looking up wrestling schools and looking up wrestling personas I could be. So, and that's how it all started, man. And like after that, it was just like I think I messaged everyone that I ever saw wrestle at AAPW, from Farmer, Billy Hills, Jay Spade, like they could probably all go back and find the message where I'm 16-year-old Brian, and I'm messaging them, hey man, like I want to work, I want to wrestle, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like, can you help me out? Like, I just messaged anyone possible and asked them if I could. So, but
Um,
yeah, that's kind of how it all started. So.
Now, were you you mentioned you were actively pursuing wrestling training while in high school. Um, did you simultaneously balance high school sports and training, or did you have to wait until one was done before pursuing the other?
Um, Actually, me and like it was weird because I got into some trouble in high school and it kind of threw high school out for me. I mean, I went back and finished, but I dropped out, and when I dropped out, I bought a car, and that's kind of when I started training at, or I was driving up every other week. I was driving up, getting a hotel room, and training at this little company called SMPW.
And
Me and my brother.
where was SMPW at?
They were out of Crossville, Illinois.
Okay.
So I went up there and thought that I just knew everything. Um, so me and my brother went up there, and then we were on our way back, and actually got in a car accident, and then that kind of blew bummers on our trips to training. So, but yeah, after that, man, I got one guy from SMPW kept in touch with me, man, and he was just like, look, like I think you can make it. I think you could do it. His name was Doc, or DOC. Um, and he kind of just pointed out like more places to go than SMPW that were closer. So I really owe a lot to that dude.
Who was that
Because I
dude?
mean,
Uh,
he, in my opinion, man, he's a great friend to me. Um, I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh, this guy," but no, he was great. He was a great dude, man. He always looked out for me.
you can,
Um,
and if you want, you can talk about him if you want to. I mean, if it's
yeah. He was from up by Chicago. He's from Pontiac. He's got a manager named Misbehaving. It's his wife now. But dude, he was just cool. I mean, I know that he was very, yeah, he's very like straight to the point, very like tough guy. Like he trained at Winnie City up
yeah,
there.
right.
Yeah, so that's where he trained out of. And I remember he was like, he just felt like, because he would come to the trainings that we had at SVW. And he was like, I wouldn't train you guys like that. I train you a different way. And I remember, man, he put us in the ring, and he goes, we're about to find out if you guys are tough enough to be wrestlers. And I remember, man, he just chopped the dog crap out of us. I mean, my chest hurt for like a week. And like I said, my brother was with me from the beginning. But yeah, I mean, just jaw chopped. Oh man, my chest was just raw. It was bleeding. But after that, man, like anything else, like training wise, never griped about being sore. I was like, all right, like anything's better than that. So,
right.
but yeah, he was a super cool guy. He got me in touch with a company in Indiana where Sam Knight was doing the training.
Okay.
And then he kind of Sam taught me how to hit the ropes and bump, and that's probably pretty much of like training wise at the beginning until I found stride. Yeah, I just went up there and I'd spend 2 hours bumping and running ropes and did some stuff up there, and but after that I heard stride was opening, and I was like, okay. I was like, all these people that I know that have wanted to train me before are now training, so why would I drive 2 hours away if there's the school right here? So
Right. Now, had you ever wrestled before Stride, or were you still in the midst of just training?
no, yeah, I was still in the mix of training. It was like because they weren't like Sam never wasn't there all the time at TSW in Indiana, so I had to just wait for him to be there. So it's like I was training like one day every like month or every other month or something like that. So I really wasn't training at all. Um, and when I was training, it was just bumping and running ropes. Um, but yeah, so it was winter, and I remember the first ever stride. They had a tryout, like a free tryout,
Right.
and I remember it's actually a really funny story. Um, so I remember that I saw the advertisements, and everyone was talking about it on Facebook. I'm like, I'm going to this thing. And at this time, I had my son, and me and my brother were hanging out. And I told my mother-in-law, I was like, because we were moving, and I remember there was a bad storm. And I remember I was like, hey, I need you to watch my, my son for a couple hours so I can go move some stuff over here. So she was like, yeah, sure. Well, we didn't go because I didn't want my wife mad at me that I went to well, ex-wife now, but I didn't want her mad at me, man, that I went to this wrestling thing and had someone watch, my son. So I told my brother, I'm like, this never happened. Don't worry about it. Um, and not even 30 minutes later, there was a picture posted on Facebook where I'm right in the front flexing, and yeah, so that was my uh, that was my first stride day, and I was in a lot of trouble at home over that one. So
Oh man, that's bad.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, after that, man, I was with stride ever since then. I mean, from the first day of the free tryout until now, like I've been there. So
um, I ask all the stride guys I've had on the show this, and I even asked Heath himself, uh, and he had his a very very great way of putting it last week.
yeah,
Um, what are your thoughts on Heath Hatton as a trainer?
that I'm trying to figure out how to say this. He's not. I don't think that he's a hole or anything like that while he's training. I think that when you're training is a very serious thing because I mean the simplest things could break someone's neck, break their back, break their arm. You could do whatever, and that's on him because he has to teach you how to do this properly so you don't hurt someone. So I think that he just tries to make sure everyone's going to be safe. Um, but I do know that he is a big one for being in shape. Like, man, he blew us up every day. Every day. I mean, the last like 20, 30 minutes of practice, like you just, after that, you're like, okay, am I going to come back or do I want to stay home? Do I want to stay home Thursday? Like, what, uh, but what are we going to do? So, yeah, he wasn't bad, man. I mean, there was a couple times where, he had to yell at me about footwork because I don't dance very well. So, but yeah, besides that, man, he was super cool. I mean, I owe Heath a lot, a lot. Major respect for the dude. Out of our whole training school, I was the only one with a kid, like, and a wife and all that. So, I owe him a lot. He took a lot of time. Him and Tony Flood and Jay Spade, they all took a lot of time teaching me what I had to do with footwork and like took a lot out to make sure I got where I needed to do. So
Right.
I don't have anything ever to say about Heath. So
Awesome. So, do you remember what led up to and when you had your first match and the memories from your first match?
yeah, yeah. So we were doing shows at the Merriam Mall, and I remember Tyler came up to me, or sorry, he came up to me, and he goes,
You,
"Hey,
you you are fine. He was referred to on the Stride YouTube channel by that name, so I
oh
think you may not be in too much trouble.
yeah, yeah, blow up drills before the match. Okay, that's what he's going to do. Um, kayfabe, Brian, kayfabe. but but yeah, so I remember he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, you're gonna wrestle Roger at the next show." And I was like, "Awesome, that's great. Let's do this." Like, so I came up with because I wanted to be Brian Baylor. That was the name, but because of Finn Balor, it kind of sounded
Right.
alike. And I was what? Oh man, I don't even know what I was watching. I think I was watching just old tapes and putting last names next to mine and seeing which one sounded better. Um, so came up with Brian Richards, and I've been Brian Richards ever since. But yeah, the day of, I remember I was super nervous, um, super nervous. All my family came out to see my first match. Talked to Roger before the match, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, this guy's so nice. We have such a good match." Blah 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 blah. And I think it was my first match with Roger when I realized, like, when you come through, you break normal to wrestler, like normal person wrestler. It stops at the curtain.
Right.
Because Roger is the nicest dude. But I remember standing there and like I saw him come through the curtain, and I literally thought in my head, "What in the world did you just get yourself into?" Like I'm not gonna lie, I was scared for my life. I was like, this guy's gonna kill you right here in front of everybody. And I remember we did this thing where we were wrestling on the outside, and man, he was laying everything in, and I didn't know what laying stuff in was. Like I just was like, oh well, we're gonna ghost this punch and ghost that punch, and you don't really hit people, you know.
Right.
And so I remember I walked back to the back, and I'm like, thanks, Roger. Like, um, he was like, you did great, kid. Good job. I'm like, but why were you so stiff? Like I was like, that was stiff, and he was like, no, I was just laying it in. There's a difference. And I was like a light bulb went off, and I was like, wait, what the world just went on? Like, but yeah, he was super cool, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so that was your first match. What have been some of the best matches in your mind you've had in
Um,
Stride or anywhere for that matter that you'd like to talk about?
some of the best ones I had. Man, there's a lot.
We got some time. You can talk about. You can talk about them.
Yeah, yeah. Man, there's a lot. Recently, me and Scott Phoenix wrestled. That was like it just happened. It's the first time we
I
had ever
saw that
wrestled each
one.
other.
Yes.
Yeah, first time we ever wrestled, and like watching it back, there was like I nitpick everything on myself after seeing it. Um, but man, it was just fun, just being out there and being like, okay, me and Scott trained together, we graduated together, like we got to wrestle on the team with each other. Whenever me, him, and Dexter were together, but man, like it was just great. Like it was legit fun. Like Scott came back, I came back, and I was like, thanks, man. I'm so sorry I messed this up. He was like, dude, that was the most fun I've had in a long time wrestling. He was like, so no hard feelings. He was like, it was just fun. Um, I want to say, um, it's not really a really good match, but it's a really good memory. Um, I wrestled at IWAU. We were going up there and doing their TV shows there for a little bit. It was me, Red Daniels, um, Nate Briggs, and Dexter. We were all going up there, and me and Red wrestled each other, and like it was great. Like we thought that it was the best match we ever had, and then watching it back, and it's like, okay, these guys cannot work. They're green as could be. But like, besides that, man, like, um, I think my favorite match of all time, it was Stride, Very Alive. And it was Hargis and Daniels, Red Daniels. They were doing this Buried Alive segment to where Red was going to lose and get buried alive. Well, me and Magnifico had been wrestling each other forever, and I had this big, nasty, ugly, like caveman beard, and so we did Mass versus Beard, and it was great, man. Like we did the I call it the old boss man spot where Rock rolled him up at Mind Games, and it was like 3 seconds, and it was over.
Right.
So we did that, and like we everyone popped, like everyone's like, whoa, 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 what? Watching it back on camera, it was extremely cool knowing that I could, like whenever I put my mind to it, and like that's when I was like, okay, I'm actually doing something in wrestling. Um, like character wise and fan wise, like I'm just not a opener or I'm just not a mid card guy. Like it showed me every match from open to beginning counts for the show. Um, but yeah, it's definitely my favorite moment. I remember that we had a pair of clippers we were teasing, and then Magnifico had one inside of a pinata. And so after the match, Dexter came out, spun them around, and stole the clippers and ran back to the back. You know, I got cut his beard. Um, I remember like it was getting up, and he hit me with a pinata, and those clippers, man, like the corner of it caught my like middle of my head, and I just remembered it was like, oh man, it hurt so bad. I thought he cut me open. I was like, oh, he just gigged me for real, brother. He just gigged me. But super cool. He cut my beard off. There's oh man, I'll have to send you some pictures.
Please
Of
do.
me.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. There's pictures, man, of me like actually crying, like I'm crying because he's cut my beard, and it was just the fans just ate it up, man.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was great.
Um, in Stride, especially in the Southern Illinois area, one of the things Stride is very good with is they help out a lot of local charities and have a lot of benefits. And Stride does a lot of great things for the communities in the Southern Illinois area. Um, of all the things that you get to do through Stride or just by extension wrestling, what has been the most rewarding sort of thing that you've been able to do to help the communities?
Um, to help out, like I remember, man, growing up, and like I said, before, like when we grew up, like I had four sisters and a brother, mom and dad that were disabled, so we didn't have, you know what I'm saying? Like we lived on a very very short budget, um, and I just remember like going to school and like not being able to afford stuff. So I was like, if we can anyway help out the school by a kid that can't, a kid that can't afford their lunches.
Right.
Like, okay, well, if I can be a part of helping that kid buy lunch, or helping that kid getting a new coat, or going to a field trip, like, dude, I'm all for it. Like, I'm a big sucker for kids, and a big sucker for like come ups. Um, you know, because you never know if that kid that you help out is going to be president one day. You
Right.
just don't know. So anyway, I could be a part of that, man. I'm down for it.
Awesome. Um, Last thing I like to do with everybody who I have on the show is word association, and I've got quite a few names for this one written down. So uh, if you're ready for this, I'll start listing off some names.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. We're good. Let's go.
Um, Roger Mathis.
Intense.
Okay. Bud Galloway. And I'm only
Uh,
laughing because he's a buddy of mine. And
yeah.
it still feels weird, kind of getting to talk about Bud in this professional sort of
Yeah,
manner.
yeah. Man, they tag teamed us out for a while, and like we want to be a tag team. We want to be the beautiful masterpiece. So vote beautiful masterpiece 2021.
Beautiful masterpiece
So
2021.
yeah. So no, man, he's friend for sure.
El Magnifico.
Um, I have to say, um, opponent,
Okay. Scott Phoenix.
friend,
Savion Ayers.
talented, That kid is ridiculously good.
Yes. Billy Hillis can't really talk today.
Oh, Billy Hills.
Yeah.
I have to say Farmer, man. I mean,
Farmer. He
that's
was
the one.
he was gonna sidebar on him. I'd love to have him on here because he was getting so popular in the closing days of AAPW. It's just like right as I was getting into him, it went away. Um,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Red Daniels.
Um, what I have to say, Buddy, man. I mean, he's helped me out a lot, man. Like he drove me to places I never thought I'd be drove to.
Mike
So,
Masters.
I have to say inspiration. A lot of people don't realize this sidebar, but
Oh, go
a lot of
ahead,
people don't
please.
real a lot of people don't realize this. The Brian Richards persona came from Mike Masters. Everyone thought it was Tyler Breeze or this, like the fur, probably, yeah. But Mike Masters, man, I mean, I remember watching him and I was like, this guy is good and he knows it. Like, so yeah, I'll have to say inspiration.
And Mike's a great dude. We've had him on the show before. Real great conversation with Mike. Axe.
I'll have to say mentor on that one. Him and Tony Flood, there's a lot of times where they've sit me down and like, okay, so we watched the match and this is what's wrong, or this is what you should do.
That's very funny. You mentioned that because my next name was Tony Flood.
Tony Flood, I have to say mentor and great pal. I mean, I still talk to him still to this day, man. I mean, he just, in my opinion, Tony Flood is the greatest worker. From mic to ring ability to ring awareness, you name it, and Tony Flood is that. Like he's the Canadian total package for sure.
Shane Rich.
Um, I I'm gonna say talented on that one, just because I know of Shane, and we pass each other in the locker room, but I am not really like on a sociable level with him just yet. So,
Gotcha. Um, Jay Spade.
oh, dude, he he is by far knowledgeable. His selling, like he takes a body slam and it's like someone broke him in half. So he's knowledgeable for sure.
Just a little sidebar. And I hope one day I can get Jay on the show. I keep bringing up AAPW main event, so much so that some of the people might be tired of hearing about it on the show. But one of my favorite memories from main event is after Jay's match. We're kind of up in the rafters watching the show, me and my buddies. And Jay just kind of comes up and stands with us. He's like, "You guys look like you're having fun. I think I'm just going to hang out here for a minute." And we're talking, and he's getting into the show. We're watching El Generico and Pac wrestle, and he's like, "All right, guys, it's cool hanging out with you. Thanks for letting me do that." And shakes our hand, and he goes back down, walks backstage. It's like, hell yeah, he's a cool dude. So
You're like, what just happened?
yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
he's one of the ones that kind of led me to Josh Totten too. I'm pretty sure he was standing by Josh when I talked to him. So,
uh, Kevin Huntsberger.
um, I have to say, funny man. Like, I don't think that there's not a time that he says something and it's not like I just have to laugh about it because it's something comical.
And last but certainly not least, Heath Hatton.
Um, there's a lot that I could say with that.
Say it all if you want to. I mean, it's
I'm gonna have
floor
to
is absolutely
say,
yours.
um, knowledgeable. Overall, I think everything that I want to say would just fit into role model, man. He is. Everyone knows by now he's a family guy. And I don't ever get to ever brag on Heath, because I don't want to fill anybody's ego. But he's for sure, man. Like probably one of the best mentors, if not my one of my really good friends. Anytime I get an offer for somewhere, I always go to him, because I know if he's going to tell me if it's a good idea or a bad idea. He's always had my back, man. from day one. I mean, like I said, there's a lot that I owe him. So I'm just gonna say that he's great, dude. All around outstanding guy for sure.
What is where do you want beautiful Brian Richards to go in the next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years, man. Like, um, I don't
What are
want to
your
say everyone
goals?
says, yeah, everyone says WWE, but I'm not a WWE guy. Like, if I get to that point, that's cool. Do I see myself going there? Absolutely not. But man, I just want to wrestle. I mean, in the next 5 years, I'd like to travel and make it an actual like job to where I don't have to work and wrestle. I'd rather just 7 days a week wrestle. It's about the only place where it feels me for sure. So next 5 years, I just want to travel, man. Overall goal, I'd love to go to Japan and wrestle. So hopefully in the next 5 years, maybe Japan. Who knows?
Awesome. Oh, well, thank you so much for reaching out. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Definitely, are you open to coming back if we can do something else
Oh
down the
yeah,
road?
yeah, man. Yeah, if you need me, man, just call me, dude. I'm here. So
Awesome. I really appreciate that. For people who may not know who beautiful Brian Richards is, you have any social media or any place where they can check out you or your work?
yeah, anything. I'm always on the Stride stuff on YouTube. It's just Brian Richards on Facebook. I'm working on a YouTube coming, but yeah, just Facebook really.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, and definitely, if you're not from the area, give this guy a look, and check out all these very very talented Stride Pro Wrestling wrestlers and athletes. And yeah, this is really really great interview, and thank you everyone for having a listen. If you enjoyed, please give it a like, share, subscribe for more content, not just from the world of pro wrestling, but from the world of anime, comics, gaming, and all things geek culture. Go follow me on my social media pages, facebook.com/athleticgeek89, Twitter at athletic_geek89, and Instagram at athleticgeek89. And if you'd like to help the channel out financially, I am on Patreon, patreon.com/athleticgeek89. Thank you to beautiful Brian Richards once again for being on the show. And
Hey. First off, you need to announce me how I'm announced. All right. I
oh,
am the man that God made beautiful, beautiful Brian Richards. All right. Let's get that.
okay,
Let's just get that stopped
okay,
first off.
okay. Thank you once again to the man that God made beautiful, beautiful Brian Richards, for being
All
on the
right.
Geeking Out podcast.
That's a little better, bud. That's a
All right,
little better.
all right. Well, thank you all for listening. See you next time.